Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. A beautiful article coming from Sputnik. And why is it beautiful? It is beautiful because it gives us names, numbers, and all the information, like details. And I like details, I like statistics, I like numbers. And basically, I'm a very curious guy. Let's put it this way, like Curious George. Nevertheless, we find out in this article coming from Sputnik, according to their data, who exactly is fighting Russia, to what extent, how many satellites are involved, how much money, the personnel. These guys, when they say, well, it's Ukraine fighting Russia, we knew it was not Ukraine fighting Russia. On the territory of the what we call Ukraine, NATO and many other countries are fighting Russia because of interests that push Al Capone into solving the global situation, which isn't a situation, he's taking over hegemony, and it has its own vassal states that have to follow, and not only have, some of them follow because they get some crumbs out of this garbage. So it's about the Russia's resources and nuclear might, including the fact that Russia must be divided in a few pieces. Some say five regions. The Russians will not be divided because they're going to have five problems instead of having one, unless you take control of everything. So let's start the article because it's very important. I like this article actually because it gives me who's who, what's what. According to the Russians, now Russia, West has spent $200 billion funding Ukraine since conflict started. So if without this 200 billion, Ukraine, the ones that say, hey, Ukraine must win, would have obviously lost in the first 2 weeks, as I predicted. This was my prediction. When the Russian troops entered Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022, I said, someone asked me, how long do you think it's going to be last? I said, maybe 2 weeks. And I think I would have been right because within 2 weeks, Ukraine already wanted to negotiate a peace with Russia 5 times. And then the West came and said, if you remember, in Istanbul, after Istanbul, no, guys, you go over there, otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. All right, and they did. And since then, we have the garbage. Western nations ramped up funding to Ukraine shortly after the start of the Russian special military operation. That's what I was telling you in March 2022. Moscow has repeatedly warned that such assistance only prolongs the conflict. The 54 foreign countries providing military assistance to Ukraine have spent over $200 billion. They could have spent for their people, but they think, hey, this is an investment. Since the beginning of Moscow's special military operation, the Russian pop. So this is according to Russian Defense Ministry. Now we see 54. 54. Do you know how many countries are listed, the United Nations, or that supposedly we are having on this planet? Last time I checked, it was 193. Sometimes 95, sometimes 93, but let's put it 193. Now 54 countries, it's what? Not even a third. It's almost a quarter. So 1 in 4. It's not really 1 in 4. It's between 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 countries. So there's not a majority. The world's community seem to not want to participate in this garbage. That tells you the vassality of who's who, what's what. The 54 states, foreign countries. Some of them willingly, some of them dragged or pushed, threatened, blackmailed, whatever. The Ministry of Defense also said that a group of more than 500 US and NATO space vehicles is working in the interest of the Ukrainian armed forces. So 500, 501, 520, can't be exactly 500. But these include over 70 reconnaissance satellites, with the rest being commercial dual-use vehicles. In addition, more than 20,000 satellite terminals of the Starlink satellite system are available for Kiev. According to Moscow, a total of 13,500 foreign mercenaries. Now you can't blame these guys. These guys are going to do whatever they do best, get money for what, according to Russians, they're mercenaries. The other guys are calling them volunteers. Most of them from Europe arrived in Ukraine to fight for the Zelensky regime. Okay, after about 6,000 mercenaries were taken out and more than 5,500 fled, only 1,900 soldiers of fortune remained in the special operation zone. When I hear this, I remember that Deep Purple song, Soldier of Fortune. Beautiful. The ministry added that foreign states had provided the Ukrainian army with over 1,600 pieces of missiles and artillery weapons, missile and artillery weapons, more than 200 anti-aircraft systems, over 5,220 armored vehicles, and more than 23,000 drones. Now, that's a lot, isn't it? It says the statement comes a day after White House National Security Council spokesman, he's not a man, John Kirby, admitted that there is no more U.S. money to provide military assistance to Ukraine unless the Congress will give them, and I suspect the Congress will give them. But they will come and say, we didn't give them $62 billion or something like this. I think it was $62 billion in aid, weapons and shit. They will say, well, we gave them only 50. Okay, so we negotiated. This is garbage. But anyway, they take from us. When they do this kind of things, they take from me, my family, and so on, and from your family as well. If you're American and you're part of the 54 states coalition of the vassals. We have given now Ukraine the last security assistance package. This is for propaganda, so they make the public put pressure, or at least they can talk about, oh, see, we're done. That we have funds to support right before New Year's, right after Christmas. And we've got to get support from Congress so we can continue to do that. Why? Defend us? Yeah. He was referring to the 54th Presidential Drawdown Authority package announced on December 27 and valued at up to $250 million. They will say it's an emergency, like they said with Israel, and they will do it, bypass the Congress, and bye-bye, see you, never. The package included additional munitions for National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, NASAMS, as well as more guided multiple launch rocket systems, GMLRS, for the US supplied M270 multiple launched rocket system, MLRS. All right, when asked whether weapon supplies to Ukraine will stop, should there be no congressional actions, Kirby said, they would have to. Of course they would have to. We know who's who and what's what. The military-industrial complex actually has the weapons. The politicians have what? Not even balls. So, remember, this is, let's go back to this. They say here that NATO is involved. According to him, which is Lavrov, the US and NATO are directly involved in Ukraine conflict by supplying weapons and training soldiers in the UK, Germany, Italy, and other countries. Well, we know that these guys are, not only that, I think they're operating actively in Ukraine under all kind of euphemistic names. Trainers, advisors, all kind of peacemakers, and who knows, like they did in Vietnam, like they did in everywhere else. We're not involved, but we are over there on that territory, just advising. Okay, and advising my enemy meaning what? So if you train my enemy, what makes you my enemy? If you give my enemy a helmet or you give my enemy a bullet, you're already my enemy. I mean, if it's not with you, just live your life like that and see where it's going to get you. All right, that means you're going to say, oh no, he's not my enemy. He just wants to blow my house up. And he's not my enemy. I'm going to wait until he does it. Preemptive strikes, remember? Why don't you do that? The same, but the Russians know, and the other guys, that's why it's just a controlled war. Unfortunately, at the expense of the Russians, Ukrainians, and us as to a smaller extent, because we pay taxes and these guys are taking from us and giving to those guys and expose us to danger. I mean, anytime the Russians can turn towards these territories and say, we're going to fuck you up. And what are they going to do? They're going to say, we're going to give up too? Great. For what? For Ukraine and Hunter Biden and his Kiev ladies of the night? Garbage. And then you have this idiot who's, I think it got dementia, Biden, who's crammed, Ukraine. It's not Ukraine, it's Russia. Russia, its resources, alliance, unspoken alliance with China. China is next. It's about hegemony, power, control, taking over. And they spoke about Hitler. They said, oh, Hitler, but hey, Hitler was bad. We're good. So if you have our hegemony, it's going to be a-okay. Yeah, like the past 30 years in the Middle East and Yugoslavia and Libya, North Africa. Ask them how great the Pax Americana works. I don't want more of that. I mean, I can say I don't give a shit. I live a good life, you know, Jesus Christ, I don't care. When it's not like that, because people who are not involved in what these elected officials are doing should not complain. That means you can't just say, oh my God, I'm not going to pay it. I don't like politics. But then you bitch about, oh, the price of gas is this, or the price of milk is this, or what's going on over there. Don't complain. Be active. Participate. Be an actor. Don't be a guy on the stands with a beer. Yeah, man, we're winning. That's what they teach you. Oh, yeah, we're winning. We are winning. Yeah, we won yesterday. We didn't win shit. You just entertained yourself a little bit. You forgot about your shitty life. And you entertain yourself. That's what you won. Some entertainment. They won. The guys who actually played, they won. Not you. And the advertisers, obviously. All right. Thank you very much for being with me again today. 54 countries versus one country. And not destroying yet that country. $200 billion. It's more than that. But nevertheless, they say in assistance, in what? In military aid? Because I know it's more than that. Let's see how they framed it, what words? In funding, that's very weasel-like. Funding like what? And anything? All right, my friends, here it is. 54 countries, foreign countries. Spent over 200 billion since the beginning. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.